Shalom everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Positivity Bias, where we're learning lessons about how to deal with these turbulent times. Fascinating series from the Jewish Learning Institute that we're privileged to be a part of, based on the book by Mendel Kamenson. Really powerful stories that help us gain some perspective about life and about how to deal with challenging times. So today we're going to talk about developing a positivity bias by sharing a couple stories, powerful stories from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and that's that. So thanks for tuning in. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Rabbi Eliezer Hershkowitz, and this is my wife Rivki. Together we run an organization called Chabad Cares, which is all about connecting people to each other and to their heritage. And this is a great, we're really enjoying this great new experience, and I hope you are too. Rivki, why don't you tell us the stories? Why don't you get us started with those two really powerful stories that I think give so much perspective.
Okay, so the first story, I actually heard this for the first time when I was much younger, maybe 10 or something, and it's one of the stories I always remembered and had a very powerful effect on me. So in 1977, on the last day of Sukkot, the Lubavitcher Rebbe suffered a heart attack. Now, 2 days later, he wanted to give a talk to the Hasidim, to the people, and just like he has had done for 28 years.
Right, every year, simple start. That's what he would do. Talk to the Hasidim, right to the top, right?
Right. Now the doctor was not very happy about it and told the Rebbe very seriously. He said, if you are not careful and you don't take care of your health, there's a 25% chance that you will have a relapse. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's serious. So the Rebbe gave him a big smile and he said, yes, I understand. You're saying that if I don't take care of my health, which I will, there's a 75% chance that this won't happen again, that I won't have a relapse.
Amazing.
So it's just like changing the words, changing perspective. You see how if we have setbacks or issues, it's just a springboard for growth and to go to the next level. That's what the Rebbe.
Right, Rebbe had this heart attack, and it's like there's a 25% chance of relapse. Time to freak out now. Time to scale back. Time to whatever. It's like no. Now it's time to take care of my health, be normal, be responsible, but also 25% relapse. That means 75%.
Right. Let's not say the negative. Let's say the positive.
Right.
Reality is reality, but let's talk about the positive.
Right. I think also that's how our brains are wired, is this with the negativity bias. We're born with a negativity bias, because think about it, if we wouldn't have the negativity bias, it could be very dangerous. Right? You're not careful. This is what tells us things are dangerous. Things are not healthy. This is, whether it's behavior, whether it's different things that we do or ways of thinking, we have the negativity bias. That's how our brains are wired. But we have to sort of balance it out so that we're able to not only survive challenges, but thrive during them. Like you were saying, using them as springboards for growth, using them to sort of get to the next level, not, God forbid, going the other way, just getting down, being, what do they call it, a Debbie Downer? Just getting worse and worse,
Right. And like you said, it's like natural for us, so it is work to try have that positivity bias.
Yeah.
Definitely not like a natural thing. In 1968, a lady by the name of Shirley Chisholm was elected to represent New York's 12th congressional district. She was the first African-American woman to be elected, and it was like a big deal. The problem was that she saw very quickly that her career was done by race-related politics, and she was assigned.
So even though it made the headlines, once it came down to it, she couldn't really get done whatever she wanted to get done.
Right. She lived in New York, in Crown Heights, very urban place, and she was assigned to the head of the agriculture committee, which deals with rural America, farms and stuff like that.
Wow.
Now she was extremely upset, disappointed, insulted. She was very committed to helping, dealing with issues in the city, but hands were tied with this committee that she was a part of. Now, one day her office gets a call from the Rebbe secretary, the Lubavitch Rebbe secretary, and says that the Rebbe would like to have a meeting with her. She comes to the meeting, and the Rebbe says to her, I know that you're upset. She said, yeah, I'm very insulted. So the Rebbe said, this is such a blessing. There is so much extra food. There's this huge amount of extra food.
There's a surplus of food in America, yeah,
right.
From other farms, right?
Do something about it. Help people. Find a creative way.
Right, you want to help people? Well, here,
here's a way.
There's extra food. Come on, help them, right?
Be creative.
Figure something out, yeah.
So, okay, on her first day in Washington, she bumps into Senator Bob Dole, and he says to her that they have an issue with the Midwestern farmers. There's tons of extra food because Americans are importing produce, and the farmers are losing money because there's extra food, it's not getting sold.
Right.
So she's like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what the Rebbe told me.
Right.
So she spent the next few years and she established the program Food Stamps, where Americans can buy subsidized food from these farmers.
Right.
And she then went on to establish the WIC program, where women, children, and infants can get nutritional supplements.
Wow.
And actually, at her retirement party, she said, I owe all this to this rabbi in New York, and he taught me that what I might think is a challenge is actually a gift from God.
Right. She said that if hungry women and children have food to eat, it's because a rabbi in Brooklyn had optimism. Had vision. A rabbi in Brooklyn had a vision.
Right.
Yeah.
So that just, that also speaks amazingly for herself. Like, she was so down, she was so upset, and she couldn't even think because she was so upset. And the Rebbe said, no, change it. It's a gift. No, don't need it oh, I'm so sorry, but you'll find. No, it's a gift.
Right.
And then she went and took that and found the gift.
Right.
With a little bit of creativity, and she was, amazingly successful.
Right, exactly. So
really helped.
Yeah,
and is helping
till today. Till today, because and you think about it, if not for that change in her perspective, in other words, did anything in her circumstance change? No, nothing changed in her circumstance, but it was her perspective that got changed. And sometimes we're able to do that on our own. Sometimes we need help from somebody else, We need somebody else to tell us, to give us that kick in the pants, so to speak, and tell us, shift the perspective a little bit, look at things a little differently. And I think the key word is creative, being creative, thinking outside the box, because there's this thing, and I don't know if I mentioned it last week, about the 9-dot challenge, where you put 3 dots, three rows of 3, and you try to connect all the dots without lifting your pen from the paper. There's really no way to do it unless you take the pen and go outside the box to do it. Because really, though, there's no box there. It's just in our minds we create that box. So now when we find ourselves, it's not about the circumstance. The Rebbe, somebody once wrote to the Rebbe a letter complaining about his life, how just complaining. And the Rebbe told him, look at Adam in the Garden of Eden. He was literally living in paradise, and he was ungrateful. At the same time, and then you have people who were in the concentration camps, in the Holocaust, who were saying, "Thank you, God," during the morning blessing. And the Rebbe says that those are 2 extremes, that most of our life we're somewhere in the middle of that. And so I guess what we have to do is that we have to know that each of us has a subjective and biased way of viewing ourselves, others, and the world around us, which is only natural. The second thing is that our personal bias, that colors our perception and experience of the world. And therefore, from a strategic point of view, you want to see? All right.
Hi.
Say hi to the video. So from our strategic point of view, rather than trying to deal with the symptoms or the effects of our biases, we should try to assess and reset our biases themselves. If that makes any sense. In other words, naturally, the way that our brains are wired, we have a negativity bias, which makes developing a positive default prism on life more challenging, but also that much more necessary. And the problem with the negativity bias is that it diminishes our quality of life. Therefore, we need to have a more balanced and positive perspective. So it's something, we need the negativity bias, but it can't be over the top. And lastly, the living a life of positivity is a matter of choice. This is something important to know. Living a life of positivity is a matter of choice, not circumstance, and derives from perspective, not personality. So developing a positivity bias is therefore within the capacity of each of us. And we're going to talk more about that in the coming weeks, how we can. We're not a Rebbe, we're not some great rabbi, we're not some great sage, but really we have it within our capacities to make that shift in our perspective. And so tune in next week so we can talk more about that. Thank you all for joining. We hope you enjoyed as much as we enjoyed it as much as we did. And that's it. Have a great week.